Did the Trump administration just claim they're speeding up green card processing, while USCIS is drowning in a record-breaking 11.3 million pending applications? If you're one of those people desperately waiting for your green card, visa, or work authorization, you absolutely need to hear what Homeland Security Secretary Christy Noem just said, and what the actual numbers are telling us. Trust me, the truth might completely shock you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dream Visa Updates, your go-to source for cutting-edge immigration news, policy shifts, and expert breakdowns that actually matter. I'm your host, and if this is your first time here, do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button right now. Turn on those notifications because missing an update could literally change the course of your immigration journey. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a massive statement from Homeland Security Secretary Christy Noem about green card and visa processing speeds. And here's the thing, we're not just going to take her word for it. We're diving into the hard data, the real numbers, and what this actually means for you, whether you're fighting for an H-1B visa, sitting in the endless green card queue, or dreaming of becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen. Let's jump right in. So here's what went down. November 12th, 2026, Homeland Security Secretary Christy Noem steps up and makes some seriously bold claims about immigration processing under the current Trump administration. According to Secretary Noem, they've made massive strides in speeding up the processing of green cards and visas. But wait, there's more. She also doubled down on the fact that more people are becoming naturalized U.S. citizens now than in previous years, framing this as solid proof that the administration is crushing it when it comes to managing legal immigration. Her exact message? Under the Trump administration, they've accelerated the entire process and added real integrity to visa programs, green cards, and all immigration benefits across the board. She painted this picture of more people becoming naturalized than ever before, basically saying the system is finally working better than it ever has. Sounds pretty good, right? On paper, these comments suggest an immigration system that's getting more efficient, more trustworthy, and more welcoming to people who want to enter the United States the legal way. But hold on, because here's where it gets really interesting and honestly, pretty frustrating for the millions of applicants currently trapped in the system. While Secretary Noem is out here claiming processing times are getting better, the actual data from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is telling us a completely different story. In fact, and this is a big one, USCIS is currently dealing with the largest immigration backlog in its entire history. We're talking 11.3 million pending applications based on the latest numbers. Let that sink in for a second. 11.3 million. That's not just a statistic. That's millions of real people waiting, wondering, stressing about decisions that will literally change their lives. And for most of them, these aren't just annoying bureaucratic delays. These are decisions that determine whether they can work, whether they can stay with their families, whether they can even plan a future in this country. Let me paint you a clearer picture of just how massive this backlog really is. Recent agency data from January through March this year shows that processing times for several critical immigration forms have actually continued to climb. That means people aren't waiting weeks or even months. In many cases, they're waiting years longer than they ever expected when they first filed their applications. Imagine already spending thousands of dollars on filing fees, lawyer costs, endless documentation, and then having to wait years with no certainty. Financially and emotionally, it's absolutely devastating. Now let's break down which categories are getting hit the hardest by these processing nightmares. Employment-based immigration filings have taken a brutal beating. This includes H-1B visa petitions, which American companies depend on to bring in foreign talent for specialty jobs in tech, engineering, healthcare, finance, you name it. It also covers work authorization requests that let people legally work in the U.S., while their permanent residency applications crawl through the system. And of course, skilled worker green card applications, the golden ticket to permanent residency, for millions of immigrants trying to build a life in America. Here's the kicker. According to the data, employment-based filings made up a huge chunk of USCIS's workload in recent months. In the second quarter alone, around 1.73 million forms were submitted just in this category. That's almost 2 million applications in 3 months. And that number doesn't even touch family-based immigration, asylum cases, citizenship applications, and all the other mountains of paperwork USCIS processes every single day. So you can clearly see the disconnect between what Secretary Noem is saying and what people are actually living through. When she talks about speeding things up, it raises some pretty massive questions. Which categories are actually seeing improvements? Are certain applications being fast-tracked, while others get left in the dust? And how exactly are they even measuring processing speed? Because if you're one of those millions stuck in limbo, it definitely doesn't feel like anything is moving faster. Before we dive deeper, let me quickly break down what USCIS actually does, especially for anyone new to this whole immigration maze. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is the federal agency in charge of overseeing lawful immigration to the United States. They're the ones processing applications for green cards, work permits, citizenship, and all kinds of visas. They manage and decide on immigration benefits, make sure people comply with immigration laws, and theoretically provide information and support to applicants throughout the journey. Here's something crucial you need to understand about USCIS. Unlike most federal agencies that run on taxpayer money, USCIS is primarily funded through the fees that immigrants and employers pay when they submit applications. Every time someone files for a visa, a green card, or citizenship, they're paying a fee that directly funds USCIS operations. This funding model is both praised and criticized. On one hand, legal immigrants are essentially paying for their own processing, which some argue makes sense. On the other hand, it creates a system where USCIS's ability to hire more staff, upgrade their ancient technology, and actually reduce these backlogs is completely tied to how much money they're collecting in fees. And that creates serious problems during times of high application volume or economic uncertainty. Now let's circle back to Secretary Noem's comments and what they might actually mean behind all the political speak. Her statement came right after President Donald Trump made some pretty interesting remarks defending the H-1B visa program. If you've been following immigration news, you know the H-1B visa has been controversial for years. The program lets American companies temporarily hire foreign workers in specialty occupations that need specialized knowledge and at least a bachelor's degree in a specific field. Industries like tech, engineering, medicine, and research absolutely depend on H-1B workers to fill positions where there simply aren't enough qualified American workers. President Trump's defense of the H-1B program was actually noteworthy because it showed a more moderate position on legal immigration compared to some of the much harder stances his administration has taken elsewhere. The fact that Secretary Noem's comments came right on the heels of the president's remarks suggests there might be a coordinated effort within the administration to show a friendlier face toward legal immigration. This matters because it shows that even within an administration known for extremely strict policies on illegal immigration, there's at least some recognition that legal immigration programs serve real economic and social purposes. However, we need to address the elephant in the room. While Secretary Noem is painting this picture of progress and President Trump is defending programs like the H-1B visa, the reality for countless legal immigrants stuck in the system is far from encouraging. The gap between the administration's optimistic messaging and the actual mounting backlogs raises serious doubts about whether these so-called improvements are even happening across all immigration categories, or if only certain privileged groups are benefiting while everyone else continues waiting in endless limbo. The data strongly suggests that despite administrative claims about streamlining the process, many applicants are still facing absurdly long waits for decisions on their cases. We're hearing heartbreaking stories from people who filed their applications years ago and still haven't even gotten an interview scheduled. We're seeing families torn apart because visa processing for spouses and children is taking way longer than anyone predicted. We're watching highly skilled workers miss incredible job opportunities because their work authorization renewals are stuck in processing hell. These aren't just cold statistics on a government report. These are real human beings whose entire lives are frozen in place while they wait for the immigration system to catch up. It's also crucial to talk about the broader immigration enforcement picture that's shaping all of this. The Trump administration has made it crystal clear that removing immigrants living in the United States without legal status is their absolute top priority. They've committed to deporting millions of people under what they've openly described as a hardline deportation policy. The White House's official position is that anyone living in the country illegally is considered a criminal, and they've backed up this tough talk with aggressive enforcement operations across the country. But here's something that's deeply troubling to many in the immigration community. In some cases, immigrants with completely valid documentation, including green card holders and visa holders, have also been detained and faced serious legal challenges. There have been countless reports of green card holders and pending applicants getting swept up in immigration raids, even though they have legal status or applications actively being processed. This has created an atmosphere of genuine fear and massive uncertainty, even among people who've followed every single rule and gone through all the proper legal channels. According to the Office of Homeland Security statistics, as of January 1st, 2026, There were approximately 12.8 million lawful permanent residents living in the United States. These are people with green cards living here completely legally. They've built entire lives here, launched businesses, raised families, and contributed enormously to their communities. The fact that some of these individuals have gotten caught up in enforcement actions, despite their legal status, has sent absolute shockwaves through immigrant communities nationwide. So where does all of this leave us? What should you actually take away from Secretary Noem's statements and all the data we've been breaking down? First, it's undeniable that there's a huge gap between what the administration is saying about processing improvements and what millions of applicants are actually experiencing while stuck in the backlog. If you're currently waiting for a decision on your case, you're not going crazy. The delays are absolutely real. They're documented, verified, and they're affecting millions of people just like you. Second, it looks like the administration is trying to walk a tightrope between enforcing strict immigration laws and keeping support for legal immigration programs that directly benefit American businesses and the broader economy. The defense of the H-1B program and all the emphasis on naturalization numbers shows there's at least some recognition within the administration that legal immigration serves critical purposes and that completely shutting down these pathways would cause serious negative consequences. Third, if you're navigating the immigration system right now, it's more critical than ever to stay informed, stay patient, and work with qualified immigration attorneys who can help you navigate this incredibly complex and constantly shifting landscape. The rules are changing all the time, enforcement priorities are moving, and what was true 6 months ago might be completely outdated today. Having expert guidance on your side can make an absolutely massive difference in how your case turns out. Looking ahead, USCIS is expected to keep processing green card and visa applications while somehow trying to tackle the exploding backlog. The real question is whether they'll actually get the resources, the staffing, and the policy support needed to make any real dent in these enormous numbers. Some immigration advocates are demanding increased funding for USCIS, major reforms to the fee structure, and serious investments in technology that could automate parts of the process and dramatically cut processing times. Others are pushing for legislative reforms that would fix some of the fundamental structural problems in our immigration system that create these backlogs in the first place. For applicants, the message couldn't be clearer. Stay patient, but stay proactive. Keep your documents perfectly organized. Respond immediately to any requests from USCIS, and don't be afraid to follow up on your case if it's been sitting there longer than normal processing times. You can check current processing times right on the USCIS website, and if your case has been pending way beyond those timeframes, you might have options for making inquiries or even getting help through your congressional representatives. It's also worth pointing out that naturalization, which Secretary Noem specifically highlighted in her comments, is actually one area where the data does show some genuinely positive trends. Naturalization applications have been processed at relatively higher rates compared to other categories, which explains exactly why the administration is pushing this particular metric so hard. If you're a green card holder who's eligible to apply for citizenship, this might actually be a smart time to consider moving forward with that application, since processing times for naturalization have been somewhat more stable than other categories. And that's everything you need to know about the latest statements from Homeland Security Secretary Christy Noem on immigration processing and what the real data is telling us about the actual state of the system right now. As you can clearly see, there's a massive gap between the official messaging coming from the administration and the harsh reality that millions of applicants are dealing with every single day. The 11.3 million application backlog at USCIS isn't going anywhere, and it's affecting people's lives in absolutely profound ways. If you found this breakdown valuable, do me a huge favor and give this video a thumbs up and share it with anyone you know who's struggling through the immigration process. Knowledge truly is power, especially when it comes to understanding your rights and your real options in this system. Don't forget to subscribe to Dream Visa updates and smash that notification bell so you're always first in line when we drop new content covering immigration news, policy changes, and practical strategies for navigating this maze. Drop a comment down below and tell me about your experience with USCIS processing times. Are you currently waiting for a decision? How long have you been stuck in limbo? Your stories help create a community where we can all learn from each other and support one another through this incredibly challenging process. I'll be back very soon with more updates, deeper analysis, and breaking news on everything related to U.S. immigration. Until then, stay informed, stay hopeful, and always remember that you're definitely not alone in this journey. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.